السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سيداتي وسادتي، يسرني أن أرحب بكم في هذه الندوة المتعلقة بالكويت والتجارة الخارجية. سوف يقوم بترحيب بكم من خلال السيد كريس فيلنر، رئيس الخدمات المصرفية الدولية. Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of our distinguished guests and participants to our Kuwait and International Trade event. We will start with an international welcoming by Mr. Chris Filner, Head of International Banking.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dear guests, welcome also from my side here at the Marriott Hotel in Kuwait. I've looked at the guest list, I've spoken to some customers, and I should not only say welcome, I should also say marhaba, yokoso, hoş geldiniz, willkommen, Hyun-yin, welcome, and now the difficult one, Hyun-yong hamnida. The Koreans, please, if this was not perfect, excuse me. Bienvenue, bon venit. Ladies and gentlemen, normally we at Doha Bank do not say hello or welcome to colleagues who attend the event. But tonight, please allow me an exception from that. As I have all of my colleagues from all around the world with me here tonight, from our representative offices in Japan, in Korea, in China, in Singapore, in Turkey, in Romania, and in the United Kingdom. And I'm very happy to announce that we will open shortly a representative office in Germany covering Central Europe as well. And our chief country managers, of course, not only from Kuwait, but also from the United States and the United Arab Emirates. May I ask the colleagues to just stand up? Very welcome. Very welcome. Thank you. These colleagues are Doha Bank's ambassadors. They are eyes, they are ears, and they help us in developing in-depth knowledge in markets around the world. Globalization, a headline. But let's look at some figures to start with. When we look at total merchandise trade exports around the world, you can easily see 2005 to 2008 plus 54%. And of course, we saw the drop in 2009. We all know about the financial and economic crisis. The Middle East doubled from 2005 to 2008. And then again a drop, a little bit more than the world did, but we all know that oil prices also dropped, and not only the demand worldwide. Of course, we are speaking about Kuwait and international trade. Just as an introduction, exports 2003 to 2008 plus 380%. What a big move. And on the import side, it nearly doubled from 2003 to 2008. Another important element is actually that the geographic distribution of trade partners is increasing. We see this in Qatar and we see it also in Kuwait. A lot of more countries enter this stage, whether in infrastructure projects or as trade partners. A short introduction. What is important? What are the critical factors when we talk about international trade? You have to get to know the structural environment, international laws, trade regulations, government subsidies, customs tariffs, just to name a few. On the market side, foreign currency and commodity price fluctuation. How can you secure it? Availability and quality of goods. What is if the goods you have ordered do not have the standard, the quality you expected? Secured transport routes. Western Europe getting a little bit cold these days, and if the gas pipeline through the Ukraine has problems again, they might run short. Marketing, the whole range of marketing. Know your competition, international standards of marketing. What other risks are involved? Counterparty risk. Is my partner going to pay? Country risk. We've seen some problems. You've seen the Eurozone turmoil. availability of financing, very critical factors. And the last one, it's probably the point which is the most underestimated one, attitude. Do I understand the cultures, the business practices, and the behavior? You will probably agree if we try to cover all these topics, we would have to invite for, let's say, a seminar of a week. We've thought this is perhaps a little bit long, but I'm delighted to have two speakers here tonight I would like to welcome, who will share with us their thoughts and their experience on Kuwait and international trade. Our first speaker is His Excellency Dr. Rashid Tabtabai, Undersecretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, here from Kuwait, and the second speaker, our CEO of Doha Bank, Mr. Sitaraman. I wish you all a very interesting evening. Thank you very much.
والآن His Highness Undersecretary of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, State of Kuwait. سعادة السيد وكيل وزارة التجارة والصناعة في دولة الكويت، وسوف يقوم بالتحدث عن التجارة الخارجية لدولة الكويت والتجارة المحلية. فنرحب بتحدث His Highness Mr. Rashid Tabtabai.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في البداية بودي أني أشكر الأخ أحمد المهزع المدير الإقليمي لبنك الدوحة على زيارته لي حقيقة، وطلب أن أكون أحد المشاركين بتقديم نبذة يمكن عن التجارة في الكويت، التجارة الخارجية، والموضوع يمكن موضوع الكويت والتجارة الدولية. يعني أنا حقيقة سعيد بهذا الجمع الكريم، وبودي أن أبين أن الكويت يعني من الأساس كانت هي بلد تجاري، وبحكم علاقاتها وبحكم أن التجارة كانت يمكن مع الغوص كانت هي المورد الرئيسي بالنسبة لمصدر الدخل في دولة الكويت، إلا أن يمكن بعد أن من الله سبحانه وتعالى على الكويت بالاكتشاف النفط والبترول تغير المنحى، وبالتالي أصبح النفط هو الذي يعتمد عليه ويعول عليه كمصدر رئيسي من مصادر الدخل في دولة الكويت. وحقيقة يمكن ظهور النفط والاعتماد عليه أدى حقيقة إلى ظهور أحد المشاكل الهيكلية في الاقتصاد الكويتي، ممثلة في أحادية الدخل، ما نسميه أن يتم الاعتماد على مصدر رئيسي من مصادر الدخل وهو النفط. وبالتالي هذا حقيقة سبب مشكلة كبيرة للاقتصاد الكويتي، وبالتالي أصبحت في جميع خطط التنمية أو برامج عمل الحكومة دائما يتم التركيز على قضية مهمة جدا، وهي موضوع تنويع مصادر الدخل. وبالتالي كان يتم التركيز، إلا أنه حقيقة يعني لا زلنا حتى الآن نعتبر يمكن الاقتصاد الريعي أو ما نسميه الاقتصاد الذي يكون نتيجة الاعتماد على مصدر مثل النفط أو مثل المناجم أو مثل المعادن، هذا حقيقة يمكن لا يمكن اعتباره كاقتصاد مثل الاقتصاد الاستثماري الناتج عن قضية الصناعة والزراعة إلى آخره. على ضوء ذلك يمكن بعد الاستقلال الحمد لله دخلت الكويت في مجال التجارة الخارجية من خلال توقيع عدة اتفاقيات تجارية مع العديد من دول العالم، وسواء كانت اتفاقيات تجارية واتفاقيات اقتصادية واتفاقيات في التعاون الجمركي وما يتعلق بالمواني، وكان في هناك اتفاقيات منع الزواج الضريبي واتفاقيات تشجيع وحماية الاستثمار، إضافة إلى اللجان المشتركة يمكن بين الكويت وبين العديد من الدول. يمكن كان يوم أمس اللجنة الكويتية الألمانية برئاسة وزير التجارة، ومثل هذه الاتفاقيات يمكن تعطي زخم كبير جدا للكويت، ولكن لا زلنا حتى الآن نحتاج إلى تعميق مثل هذه العلاقات. كانت في هناك رؤية لتعزيز هذا الأمر من خلال النظر إلى أن تكون الكويت مركز مالي ومركز تجاري، خاصة أن في هناك مجموعة عناصر يمكن تؤهلنا في دولة الكويت أن نكون في هذا الموقع، وبالتالي كانت نظرة استراتيجية ورؤية من حضرة صاحب السمو لأن تكون الكويت مركز إقليمي في شمال الخليج للمال وللتجارة. شو اللي يميز يمكن دولة الكويت؟ لعل أهم ما يميزنا هو الموقع الجغرافي، يعني لنا موقع متميز في شمال الخليج العربي. نحن قريبين جدا من أسواق مهمة جدا في إيران، يمكن عدد سكانهم أكثر من 70 مليون نسمة، العراق 27 مليون نسمة. هناك مدن رئيسية حوالينا مثل البصرة، مثل مدينة بوشهر. هناك نتطلع أيضا إلى الجمهوريات السوفيتية المستقلة الممثلة بعدد كبير من السكان. جانب آخر يمكن يميزنا في الكويت هو وجود الطاقة الهيدروكربونية أو النفط والغاز، وبالتالي هذا يؤهلنا إلى أن تكون الطاقة وهي المشغل الرئيسي للعديد من الاستثمارات والصناعات رخيصة إلى حد ما متوفرة، وبالتالي يمكن هذا يعزز وجود أن تكون الكويت مركز تجاري. وجود بنية تحتية حقيقة نعتبرها مؤهلة، مطارات، مواني، شبكة طرق، شبكة جسور، اتصالات إلى آخره. ما يميز الكويت حقيقة وجود وفرة رأسمالية ممثلة سواء بالقطاع الخاص أو في البنوك أو في لدى الحكومة. هناك يعني يمكن آخر الإحصائيات تبين أن الاستثمارات الكويتية للحكومة الكويتية حسب التقديرات يمكن تصل إلى حوالي 300 مليار دولار مستثمرة في العديد من الدول، وهذا يؤهلها أن تقوم بدور خاصة في جانب التمويل. اقتصاد الكويتي اقتصاد حر، أسواق مفتوحة، وجود تشريعات اقتصادية خاصة في الوقت الحاضر، قانون الضريبة، قانون الاستثمار الأجنبي، قانون BOT، قانون الخصخصة. وجود قطاع خاص قوي أعتقد في الكويت. يمكن الكويت شركات استثمارية وبنوك يمكن مؤسسة من فترة طويلة ولديها خبرات ولديها ملاءة مالية. وجود بنك مركزي قوي يراقب التصرفات والتعاملات بالنسبة للشركات المالية. أيضا وجود سوق مالية متطورة في الكويت خصوصا بعد إصدار قانون هيئة أسواق المال، أعطى حقيقة يمكن بريق جدا للسوق الكويتي. في هناك سماح للأجانب بتداول وتملك الأسهم في الكويت. بودي أن أركز أيضا على جانب مهم جدا، لا نقول إن والله هذا النطاق هو النطاق الضيق، لكن خلونا نتكلم عن منظومة أشمل وهي منظومة دول مجلس التعاون. يعني الكويت بحكم كونها عضو في مجلس التعاون يعني في اتفاقية اقتصادية موحدة مبرمة ما بين جميع دول مجلس التعاون، حددت دخلت من جانب انتهت من الجانب التنسيقي ودخلت إلى جانب الآليات والبرامج والعمل، بحيث بدأت بحرية ممارسة الأنشطة التجارية ما بين مواطني دول مجلس التعاون وتعميق مبدأ المواطنة الاقتصادية. انتقلت في 2003 بدأ الاتحاد الجمركي بالنسبة لجميع دول مجلس التعاون، باعتبار أن حدد المثبت بالنسبة للتعرفة الجمركية، اعتبرت جميع دول مجلس التعاون بمثابة نقطة دخول واحدة. وحدت الإجراءات المتعلقة بالاستيراد والتصدير وتجارة الترانزيت. هذا جانب مهم جدا على أساس أن تنتهي كل متطلبات الاتحاد الجمركي ما بين دول مجلس التعاون في عام 2009. الجانب الآخر دخلنا في مرحلة السوق الخليجية المشتركة، وهي أن لا يكون في هناك أي تمييز ما بين مواطني دول مجلس التعاون والشركات والكيانات، بحيث أن يكون في هناك حرية الانتقال العمل والإقامة، وحرية ممارسة النشاط التجاري، وحرية انتقال رؤوس الأموال. دخلنا في هذه المرحلة. المرحلة الأخيرة يمكن اللي مزمع الدخول فيها هو ما يسمى بالوحدة النقدية ما بين دول مجلس التعاون، وهذا الأمر أعتقد يمكن قمة هذه المرحلة يكون من خلال إصدار العملة الخليجية الموحدة اللي ستعطي زخم كبير لدول مجلس التعاون باعتبارها أن لديها عملة موحدة، وبالتالي تعطيها قوة تفاوضية أكبر. ما بودي أن أركز على مستقبل أن الكويت أيضا هي جزء من منظومة دول مجلس التعاون. في هناك أيضا المفاوضات التجارية التي تقوم بها مجموعة دول مجلس التعاون كجروب وكمجموعة للوصول إلى اتفاقيات تجارة حرة FTA Free Trade Agreements ما بينها وما بين مجاميع كبرى أخرى، أولها يمكن وأهمها الاتحاد الأوروبي مع الصين، مع باكستان، مع الهند، مع أستراليا، مع كوريا، مع اليابان، مع تركيا. في هناك مفاوضات للوصول إلى هذه المرحلة. التعرفة الجمركية في دول مجلس التعاون 5%. هذه الأسواق تعرفتها الجمركية كبيرة، وبالتالي فتح الأسواق وتحرير التجارة أنا أعتقد سيكون إن شاء الله له فائدة كبيرة جدا لمنظومة دول مجلس التعاون ولدول مجلس التعاون. لذلك أنا أعتقد التفكير يجب أن يكون أبعد من أن نفكر أن الكويت فقط اهتمامها بالجانب التجاري المحلي، ولكن أيضا نحن نتكلم عن الكويت بصفتها وباعتبارها أن دولة في مجموعة ومنظومة دول مجلس التعاون. الجانب الآخر اللي بدي أكد عليه وهو البعد الدولي. الكويت الآن هي دولة عضو في منظمة التجارة العالمية، ومتطلبات منظمة التجارة العالمية بمفاهيمها هو نظام عالمي جديد للتجارة، بمعنى تحرير التجارة وإزالة كافة القيود الجمركية والإدارية والقانونية. الكويت عضو في هذه المنظمة منذ 63 لما كانت الجات، وبعد ذلك وقعت على المعاهدة ودولة مؤسسة في ال WTO في عام 94، وهيأت ظروفها وقدمت التزاماتها. أعتقد وجود الكويت بدأت الآن بتعديل الكثير من التشريعات بسبب انضمامها لمنظمة التجارة العالمية، خاصة فيما يتعلق بتجارة السلع وتجارة الخدمات وتجارة الملكية الفكرية. جميع القطاعات المتعلقة بالبيئة والصحة والتجارة والصناعة والموانئ والجمارك. في هناك سيكون يمكن في السنة القادمة في مثل هذا الشهر، في شهر ديسمبر 2011، سيكون في هناك مراجعة للسياسة التجارية لدولة الكويت لتعزيز موقعها أنها وفت العديد من المتطلبات التي تفرضها منظمة التجارة العالمية. في النهاية ما بدي أن أركز عليه هي الجانب المشرق في هذا الموضوع، وهو ما يتعلق بخطة التنمية. خطة التنمية كما سميت هي خطة أمة للنهوض بدولة الكويت في جميع مناحي الحياة. رصدت لهذه الخطة بحدود 120 مليار دولار على مدى ال4 سنوات القادمة، وبالتالي سيكون التأثير ليس فقط في الجانب الاقتصادي، ولكن ستكون هناك مشاريع كبيرة جدا تتعلق بالإسكان وتتعلق بالبنى التحتية وتتعلق بالصناعة وتتعلق بالمدارس والمستشفيات وتطوير الموانئ والجسور وبناء مدينة كبيرة هي مدينة الحرير. فنتوقع إن شاء الله أن تكون الكويت ورشة عمل تتضافر فيها جميع القطاعات، سواء قطاع الصناعة أو قطاع الخدمات أو قطاع شركات الاستثمار. وعلى ضوء ذلك أنا أعتقد هذه الخطة إن شاء الله بمتطلباتها ستكون فرصة كبيرة للقطاع الخاص، والقطاع الخاص باعتقادي لتنفيذ هذه الخطة ولتنفيذ أيضا التطلع الذي تطلع عليه الكويت لتكون مركز مالي وتجاري يحتاج إلى المشاركة الشركات الأجنبية من خلال تقديم خبراتها ومهاراتها والإدارات وبراءات اختراعها للدخول في مشاركات القطاع الخاص في دولة الكويت. على أي حال يمكن هذا بريف سريع فيما يتعلق بموضوع الكويت وتطلعاتها بالنسبة للتجارة الدولية. ننظر احنا ليس فقط بالجانب المحلي، ولكن ننظر أيضا للجانب الخارجي لنوفي جميع المتطلبات يمكن المطلوبة والتزامات دولة الكويت في هذا الشأن. على أي حال تمنياتي للإخوان في بنك الدوحة كل السداد وكل التوفيق، وأتمنى إن شاء الله أن أكون استعرضت على الأقل جانب من جوانب التطلعات التي نتطلعها، ونتمنى أن يكون لبنك الدوحة كل التوفيق والموفقية في عمله في دولة الكويت. وشكرا لكم على حسن الإنصات والاستماع.
والآن سوف يقوم الرئيس التنفيذي لمجموعة بنك الدوحة بالتحدث عن التحديات المحلية والخارجية وفرص تحسينها. Now Doha Bank's Group CEO will talk about global, regional and local trade challenges and opportunities. Please welcome Mr. Sita Raman.
Your Excellency, Dr. Rashid Dabdaboy, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends, my colleagues from the global representations, including Kuwait, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure and privilege for me to be an integral part of this interesting and exciting, informative evening. The next 45 minutes, that's the scheduled time, we'll make it much more interactive. Conceptually, we will look at the changing face of the world to start with. Thereafter, we will look at the global economics in terms of gross domestic products and macroeconomic indicators of the universe, emerging markets as well as developed economies. Then we will move on to the financial markets, stock market, currency market, commodity market, bond market. And then we will intertwine the concept of the Gulf economies within the framework and then see how far, in macroeconomic terms, trade is getting rebalanced, how the financial market and trade comes into economic linkage, and what sort of foreseeable future, what sort of incremental growth we see between different parts of the world. That should be the substance for the next 45 minutes. We'll make it interactive. We'll also take your questions. Kuwait audience are always intelligent. This is not the first time we do the knowledge sharing sessions. Time and again, we have seen excellent experience in sharing the knowledge in Kuwait. We started our operation in 2007. We had change in face of financial service was the first session, extraordinary attendance. And again, we came in 2008, 2009, we couldn't do it. And here we are. We had business quiz was a grand success. We had over 400 people attended. That shows clearly the intellectual capacity of the Kuwait audience. We compliment them, and any speaker gets motivated by this interaction. This is the changing face of the world, ladies and gentlemen. The world is changing on account of the globalization. The world is changing on account of the deregulation to re-regulation. Every single financial framework is getting redefined. The crisis, which was said to be a financial crisis, is no more a financial crisis. It has shaken the complete human form and substance, and it has become human crisis. Technology and consumerism is getting redefined. While the financial economies are getting converted as real economies, redefinition comes for developing economies or emerging markets. They are redefining the scope and performance. That's what we have seen. The crisis itself has got positive lessons we have to learn. We have learned excess leveraging is not good. We have also learned ethical and moral governance in terms of business framework is conceptual and practical, and it has to be socially administered by the regulators for gross welfare and prosperity of the civilization. We also have learned we are living in an interconnected world. The experience, what we have seen, is not confined to one single country, one single continent, one single product. We have seen we lived in a shrinking world. Clearly, breaking news, instantaneous communications are sensitive enough to altercate the form and substance of any market in any part of the world. That's the lesson we have learned. We also seen corporate, which were history and civilization, clearly gone back to its basics to see business is all about not making profit alone. Business is not alone for taking care of shareholders, all the stakeholders, its customers, it is shareholders, its regulators, and public at large have to come in perspective, and you are socially responsible for your commitment. That's why consumer protection is equally important for us to realize that man in the main street has to be respected, and he has to have the value advantage in the interaction of the enterprise. That's the lesson we have learned. This crisis has revealed untold stories. Extraordinary phase of change since 2008. We have seen it's not confined to Bastion or, for that matter, some of the financial institutions. It has changed the depth and width of the global governance. Still, we are reeling under pressure. Still, the world, in my perspective, in my opinion, has not come out of the woods. There is every reason to believe the world has not recovered. Why? What has changed today? When the financial crisis was visibly looming the world, quantitative easing, printing money, was the accommodative monetary policy which we have recognized as a tool to supply money. The liquidity was increased. When the liquidity was increased, stock market was blown up again. We saw the recovery. We have seen the toxic product which transcended borders is infected world, and trillions of dollars were at stake, and institutions who have leveraged beyond their capacity have to write off their books. Stock market was dwindling, and it was supplemented with quantitative easing. That's one significant development. Politics and economics were converging. That's why we have seen G20 coming together as inclusive growth. It is no more one set of club, as advanced economies can have total say in the global governance, whether it is World Bank or IMF or, for the matter, the accounting world today is getting rebalanced in real form and substance to see inclusive growth comes from the emerging markets. That is why we brought in substance for G7 has become G8, G8 has become G20. The first of its kind we saw in London, April 2009. The decisions which were taken there were full of substance. We need to bring in universal standards in terms of offshore havens, tax havens. We also have accepted we need to bring in universal securitization principles. We need to bring in capital rules which will strengthen the enterprise. So that's why Basel I has become Basel II in 2006. Basel II has become Basel III now between 2009 and 10. Proprietary trading was put in perspective, and no more the business model which were leaping jump and joy for capitalists no more exists. The business model got redefined in form and substance. Clearly, the governing principle is to bring in universal valuation in accounting, universal securitization principles, making sure it reflects the true and fair view of the enterprise in its total governance. That's what the re-regulation is all about. The world still has not executed all the decisions of G20. That's why we had to go for the second round of discussion last year. Again, it was in Pittsburgh in September last year, 2009. Some of the decisions taken by the political framework now getting executed as the financial stability measures by the central bankers and governors. We need to recognize the change which is required and the challenges ahead of us. The auditors have failed, the accountants have failed, the rating agencies have failed world over because it was not integrated in universal framework. That is why the world still has to go through extraordinary transformation to see we have global growth in order. If you look at 2009 global growth, it was contraction over 2.9%. Well, GDP was down minus 2.9%. Global trade was down over 16% in global terms. If you split the world into multiple parts, the advanced economies, so-called G7 countries, which were contributing significant portion of the global productivity, were contracting. Essentially, over 10% was the contraction in full form and substance. The emerging markets, including BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and the Asia-Pacific Rim, were incrementally adding values. China was not disturbed in real form and substance. On the contrary, they were looking for soft landing. India, in its own wisdom, was not put to rigorous test. It was managing it in terms of financial stability. Russia, even though the stock market was put down by over 120% compared to 2008, 2009 was down, it recovered. In terms of GDP, it was producing not less than 5 to 6%. The commodity-driven Gulf economies still were coasting beautifully. It was, in terms of GDP, it was down, but essentially the oil price, which was in 2007, on account of the dollar weakness, oil futures were going up. When you compare in the current prices in 2009, essentially Middle East and North Africa were -1. But Gulf economies, commodity-driven Gulf economies, were 60 to 62%, where oil and gas were still producing substantial investable surplus, current account surplus, fiscal surplus. That's why we turned out more than $900 billion as en bloc 6 countries put together last year. If you look at current year, the growth between the intra-Gulf states and also the en bloc GDP, we are going to coast not less than 15% GDP growth. Essentially, the 863 billion I said is cutting over $1 trillion. That's the level of growth we are seeing. Oil price is costing today over $90. It's not that oil was consumed in exponential form. It is the oil futures are going up because the dollar is weakening. I'll come to the commodity market thereafter. Essentially, if you look at the current account surplus of the Gulf states, is again over 15%. We produce not less than 120 to 130 billion dollars as a surplus for the Gulf states put together. These are real economies. These are not paper economies. And if you extrapolate next year, it's going down, not 15% growth, but 10% growth is what the projection is all about. And 2012 again, 10%. If you look at the current account surplus, it's going to be in the range of 130 to 140 billion dollars. In 2012, we should be projecting, Gulf states should be projecting not less than 1.3 trillion. That's the level of growth we are talking about. That's what the IMF outlook says. It was released in October 2010. If you look at China is still cutting across over 10%. They are increasing the interest rate to make sure the housing market is not overheated. They need soft landing, as I said earlier. They need to make sure cash reserves are conserved to make sure there is no excess liquidity which goes and pump the credit. They want rebalancing in substance and form. Take, for example, India. India has revised the interest rate this year, repo rate and reverse repo rate at least 6 times. Now it's almost 5.36%. What does it tell you? They want to contain the inflation. They want to make sure cash reserves, again like China, is maintained so that liquidity is not abundant. At the same time, it is there to make sure the reserve against deposits are always there in the event of an eventuality. India is costing not less than 9%. That's the fiscal consolidation India is aiming at. They also have to make sure India has to make sure there is no inflation. So they have to necessarily make sure there is cash reserves increased in terms of reserve against deposits. So over the period of time, if you look at it, in the last 2 years, clearly the emerging markets are adding incremental growth towards GDP. Over 60% of the incremental growth has come from the BRIC countries. Singapore has done over 10%. Asia Pacific Rim, if you look at it, they are all prospering in real form and substance. That's on the bigger picture in terms of the global gross domestic product, in terms of GDP. Now let's look at the financial markets. To start with, the commodity market. For example, oil and gas. Oil, but for February 2009, when oil was costing around $33, from 2008, 11 July, $147. That was, as I said, the oil futures were going up, not the real consumption. Now, incremental consumption also comes from the emerging markets like China and India. As on date, if you look at it, we consume around 86 million barrels of oil per day. It has moved from 85.2 million last year to 86 plus millions. This is not exponential growth. This is a linear growth. But look at oil price today. Oil price is determined by 4 factors. One is the currency itself. If petrodollars are denominated in real terms as dollar as a tool, if dollar gets strengthened, oil price gets weakened. Dollar gets weakened, people hedge the risk by buying commodities. When currency is weak, we hedge the risk by buying commodities. That's precisely the reason why oil futures are going up. And third thing, all the European countries who are confined to the criteria defined that they should not exceed 3% fiscal deficit. They should not also exceed gross debt to GDP over 60%. What was the gross debt to GDP in Greece? Over 100%. What was the fiscal deficit? Over 15%. It is not only Greece. That was in January, February this year. Then it moved on to Ireland of late. Trillions of dollars have been committed. 750 billions plus additional pumping from IMF was committed to recover, send the sentiments in positive forms to see that euro as a currency stays stable. While the monetary policy is converging, while the measurement mechanism has failed, fiscal policy is divergent. Every single country is practicing their own principles. Fiscal policy is in the hands of the finance minister. The monetary policy is in the hands of the European Union. And it is now, the infection has come to Ireland. What is the Ireland story? Last month it was looming across the globe. 1/3 of the GDP is a fiscal deficit. Have you heard? 1/3. What is the gross debt to GDP? Over 100%. How could it recover? Now, this is the level of financial stability we are seeing in Europe. Our Undersecretary was mentioning about the single currency. Undersecretary was also mentioning about the classic example of GCC cooperation and coordination. In terms of macroeconomics, Gulf economies are similar. That's why there is a successful customs union. Now, we are also evolving as a fine combination in terms of currency union. There are hurdles. Still, we haven't got all 6 countries put together in convergence. We need to bring in all the 6 states to improve the intra-Arab trade, investments, banking and finance to their value advantage. It's going to happen. Eventually, it has to happen. Now, looking back the overall substance of the GDP, you're seeing the world at large still at disarray. Kuwait economy, I don't need to adduce you. It is going in the right direction in terms of GDP, in terms of dollars. It's $127 billion, which is significant. Last year, it was down because the oil price, 89% of the GDP is oil and gas. We know it. 11% is non-oil. Now it's coasting along beautifully this year, over 4% GDP growth, hopefully, with the oil price at this rate, current prices, if it's sustained for a number of days or months, then you'll have better year ahead again. It is also producing 30% of the current account surplus as a GDP. Again, if you extrapolate for next 2-3 years, based on the projection of the Kuwait Economic Council, again you will have current account surplus over 30%. 35 to 40 billion will be the minimum current account surplus in Kuwait. Which part of the GCC is weak, you tell me? These are strong economies. We practiced Basel II way back in 2006. Now, we had a comfort test, not a stress test, real stress test European Union was coming out with. Still, they're insisting on Basel III. Basel III should be complied in no time by the GCC Gulf states, because if you look at the capital adequacy framework, it is easy to follow because we have gone through the hard test. By and large, the Gulf states are costing not less than 14 to 15% capital adequacy ratios in terms of financial services. Our capital rules are stronger. Typically, if you look at any banks in the region, asset to shareholders' equity is not leveraged beyond 10 times. That's the level of financial stability we are talking about in real order. Now, in the global growth, unless you deleverage the institution, financial stability will not come in. Unless you inject additional capital, the financial stability will not come in. That is why we have to intertwine the currency and the commodity to have a global growth. The currency war which we are seeing today is real. While quantitative easing is an artificial insulation, exchange rate mechanism should be a free market dynamics. Otherwise, a rebalancing act will not be there. Structural realignment required, which US and China is contemplating in multiple form and substance. If it happens, then the world at large can grow. The global growth is visibly in front of us. Otherwise, you will have Japanese style of collapse, which we had earlier in terms of the fundamentals you will have. Because currency war is real. What we are seeing today, if you have to improve the global trade, then you have to have the balancing act has to come in the currency mechanism as well. That's on the financial market. Financial market also has got substance in real order on the stock market. Stock markets are taking care because of the liquidity. Excess liquidity world over is chasing different parts of the world. If you start QE1 to QE2, 600 billion is the second level of pumping has been done by either by buying the treasury bills or pumping money by printing money. Whichever way you look at it, it goes to emerging markets. That's why most of the emerging markets have recovered. Even the developed world stock markets, whether it's Dow Jones or Nasdaq, they're all doing well. The Gulf economies are again responded well. Even though we had housing property definition issues in Dubai last year, the market is recovering. And essentially, the Gulf index, if you look at it, essentially they are, in terms of price earning multiples, they are cheaper compared to the rest of the world. That's what we understand. Now, in global terms, every single market which went down in 2009 has recovered now. China went down by 62%. It recovered almost the same percentage this year. And again, it crossed over in positive forms. India is already coasting very well, over nearing 20,000 is the benchmark index they are cutting across. So if you look at the stock market world over, they are coming up. Qatar is an exception in the region itself. Qatar has done extremely well. It was 6,500 was the point benchmark in 2010 September. Today it is cutting over 8,500. We have a lot to share on the 2022. I'll come to it later. If you look at the financial market, again, on the IPO side, significant portion of the IPOs were from China. Two exchanges, Chi Next Exchange and Shanghai Exchange, are doing phenomenally well. Most of the newly listed IPOs are all oversubscribed. Brazil again got maximum subscription through Petrobras. 79 billion was subscribed for Petrobras. And again, when it comes to Agriculture Bank of China, I was in China a couple of months before, we know they procured 23 billion in no time. Kuwait Investment Authority has put $900 million. Qatar put $2.8 billion. So most of the IPOs, if you look at it, it was all primary market, it's all subscribed towards the emerging markets. Whether Brazil, or Russia, or China, or India. India has, Coal India, oversubscribed in multiple forms. So primary market is also moving in the right direction. If I touch upon the bond market, I'll tell you a simple example of Qatar. Qatar has issued as a sovereign bond 7 times oversubscribed. The credit default swap rate, if you look at it, it is 80 to 90 basis points. Qatar is a double A-rated country. Doha Bank is the A-rated institution. Again, if you look at the corporate bonds, QTEL has issued. Telecommunication company in Qatar has managed to procure at overall rate of 3.25%. That's the level at which they are borrowing. While CDS in Europe still, countries like Greece, over 900 basis points. Ireland, 600 basis points. Spain, over 400 basis points. But the Gulf economies, Gulf sovereign bonds, Gulf corporate bonds are oversubscribed. And they are getting it cheaper. What does it tell you? What does it tell you? It clearly tells the macroeconomic fundamentals are very, very strong. That's the message we get in real terms. Let me move on to the next substance, that is international trade. If I look at the international trade, I did mention the gross domestic product was down by almost 2.9% last year. World over, it's a contraction. I also mentioned to you the global trade has come down by almost 16%. Advanced economies, they have over 20% reduction in their export. Who is the single largest importer in the world? United States. 20% of the world import is to US. 12% of the world export goes to US. That's the level of the economy. US is, if you look at the global ranking in terms of GDP, it is $13 trillion economy. The next comes now is China. Where is Mr. Peter Lu? Peter is there. China has overtaken Japan. Kanji is here. Japan, my Japan representative. My chief country manager in Shanghai is here. How is the Chinese economy performing?
Basically it's very stable because the political situation in China is very stable and the GDP growth is around 10%.
Okay.
And inflation is at a good control under around 4 to 5%.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and we also see that the recent event in China is also very successful, just like the Olympic Game in 2008 and also the Shanghai Expo this year. So we believe that with the stable condition, so basically the growth will be very prominent in China.
How is the trade, export-import in China?
So the trade figure in China is around US dollar 790 million this year.
Okay.
So representing about 15% growth from last year.
So the domestic trade is moving. I know it's export-driven, and domestic consumption is also going. Internal balancing is taking place.
Yes, because China has, they know that they need to excite the domestic demand in order to maintain a strong growth in the years forward. So basically, the Chinese government has been implementing many measures to promote the internal consumption. Because right now, the consumption in terms of the total GDP in China is still at a relatively low level as compared with the developed countries.
Very good. Now, in terms of the overall the GCC relationship,
Yes.
what are the major corporates operating here? What are the bilateral relationships which are significant between China and the Gulf states?
Okay, so in fact, we see more and more Chinese companies. They are going to the GCC, conducting some infrastructure and also construction projects. Because Chinese corporates, they are going to be more famous in GCC, and their quality is very good. And I believe that their pricing is also very competitive. So in fact, during this trip to Doha and also to Kuwait, I also managed to arrange meetings with most of the state-owned infrastructure companies in this area.
Absolutely. I see a tremendous amount of excitement in the Chinese companies to come to Gulf. If you look at the overall bilateral trade, Saudi Arabia is a major relationship, over $100 billion. Then comes UAE, then comes Qatar and Kuwait. So it's a very changing dynamics of China. It is the second largest economy in the world. After United States 13 trillion, as I said, China comes in, and it's day by day. It's improving in its overall productivity and the global alliances. It's an extraordinary field. If you look at Oman, there are projects. When it comes to UAE, even in real estate, significant portion of the Chinese corporates have invested. Qatar, it's a growing relationship. We have seen China Petro, China's national offshore company. We also have Shell and Qatar Petroleum putting a joint venture in Sichuan province. And SABIC is putting a petrochemical company in China. So it's a growing relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Peter Liu, Chief Representative Officer of Doha Bank. Here comes Kanji. Kanji is our Chief Rep in Tokyo. Now, we all know, you can have your mic.
Yeah.
How is the Japan economy doing now, Kanji?
Okay. Japanese economy has been sluggish in these couple of years. However, we can see a big recovery from this year. GDP ratio, GDP rate has been is expected to become slightly positive this year, and we see a lot of potential business from Japan. And in relation with trade with Kuwait or Qatar, we can see 1.5 billion export from Japan to Qatar, for example, and similar number from Japan to Kuwait. Apparently, Kuwait and Qatar are a big trade partner for Japan.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. And I've seen Japanese trading houses today, and Kuwait has 4 years huge infrastructure development plan, including power business and also infrastructure, water treatment, something like that. Japanese trading houses are very strong on this industry, and they are positively looking at these opportunities very brightly and very positively.
I agree with you. The single largest relationship for Kuwait is Japan. Last year it used to be over $100 billion.
That's right.
So I have, what are the companies operating here? In Qatar, I know, Marubeni, Chiyoda.
Marubeni and company.
Mitsui doing a big role.
And Chiyoda and JGC Corporation.
What are the Japanese companies in Kuwait?
In Kuwait, Marubeni. Yeah.
Okay.
They are quite strong on power business and infrastructure business and water treatment. And a good thing is that Kuwait has a big 4 years plan from now on, and huge development. And Japanese companies are looking forward to be involved in such great development from now on.
Absolutely.
Doha Bank is certainly looking forward to be involved in such huge development from now on.
You know, in fact, Japanese are the first one to recognize the LNG capacity to produce and distribute by Qatar. In 1996, first consignment went to Japan, and today Japan is the single largest relationship. That's precisely the reason we set up an office 4 years before in Tokyo. Ladies and gentlemen, give me a big hand. Here is my chief rep in Tokyo. Thank you. There are many projects coming up in Kuwait. You know, whether it is Silk City or Faiklan, or for that matter, Sabah Hospital or Kuwait Gate. There are many projects. I think we are strategically positioned, whether it is Japan or Seoul. Today, Doha Bank is there to support you. let me move on to Kwan. Where is my friend Kwan? Kwan is here. Kwan is, ladies and gentlemen, he is the chief rep of the Doha Bank's Seoul office. How is he? Can you
Our
have
economic situation.
your economic situation?
To my knowledge, Korea is now in a very fast recovery stage from global economic downturn. This year, Korea economy will grow 6.5%,
Very good.
achieving 1 trillion economic size.
Excellent.
It is one of the most fast recovering country among OECD. And Korea is now achieving 13th largest economic power in the world. Next year, it is expected another 5% economic growth. The reason why Korean government has taken very preemptive actions to stabilize the economic downturn turmoils. And the Korean government also take a very rapid action to boost corporate investment and consumer consumption.
Okay.
So Korea hosted the G20 summit this year,
G20, yes, right, last month, yes.
and Korea has made a free trade agreement with the United States. So it will give us very good economic environment to make another growth next year coming.
Excellent, excellent. Tell me, in terms of the Gulf cooperation, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to observe silence. Please observe silence so that you can listen to it. Now, tell me, in terms of Gulf economies, what are the bilateral relationship?
Well, Korea traditionally has been very strong economic ties with the GCC countries. The bilateral trade volume with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar all together is more than $50 billion.
More than 50
More
billion.
than 50 billion
Okay.
for countries.
Okay.
The GCC countries have supplied energy resources to Korea.
Correct.
And in return, many Korean companies like Hyundai Construction, Samsung, SK, POSCO, GS, they have participated in many important social infra
Correct.
projects in GCC country.
In fact,
especially in Kuwait.
Absolutely. Kuwait as well as Qatar, the second largest relationship is Korea, South Korea. After Japan, the second largest relationship is South Korea. So, tell me, in terms of overall the corporates in Kuwait, what are the names of the corporate? I have seen here a few Korean counterparts.
We have many Korean companies like Hyundai Engineering and Construction, SK Engineering and Construction, POSCO, Samsung, LG. They are all have a very strong relationship with Kuwait. So I'm looking for the economic ties between two countries will continue and will be strengthened in future.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Kwan from Seoul. Next comes Singapore. I'm going to finish in 10 minutes time. Singapore plays a very important role in the region as such. Here is my chief rep, Mr. Satyamurthy.
Yeah.
Satyamurthy, welcome. Tell me, how is the Singapore economy doing?
Singapore economy is doing very well, and they are expected to grow by 15% this year. Though there was a little bit lull during 2008 and 9, and the first economy in the Southeast Asia to bounce back is Singapore.
That's right.
It is driven by the trade. It's a trade hub for oil trade, and it's a financial hub. The major drivers are shipping and logistics and financial services. Singapore's is driven by the growth from China and India.
Okay.
That's a vibrant economy.
Absolutely. What are the major corporates here in the GCC?
In GCC, they are quite active in Saudi and UAE and in Qatar. In Qatar, they are in port building. I think the port management services.
Keppel.
Keppel Group is there, and Keppel Seegers is already there in sewage management, which is some $4 billion project.
Healthcare projects in Saudi.
Healthcare projects in Saudi, as well as they are in hotel there and the hotel and hospitality management.
Very good. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Satyamurthy from Singapore, our chief rep. Few more countries we are representing, so I'm going to finish it off with few more countries. United States. Where is United States here? Mr. Krishnan? Yes, yes. Here. Right. $13 trillion economy. Now tell me, the bilateral relationship with US and GCC, how do you look at it?
I would say the bilateral relationship with the GCC and US is one of the excellent relationships.
Okay.
Be on the political level, be on the economic cooperation and economic trade between these countries. And it is not overstating. We went to the Marina Mall today. You can see all the US companies and outlets represented in the mall.
Right from McDonald's to...
Exactly, exactly. And even in the tourist traffic, there is a good traffic flow from Middle East to US. So excellent relationship.
How is the US economy now? If you have the market feel.
Yes, US economy is something which the whole world is keenly watching and being followed. Now, since the events from 2008, we are in 2010 now. The latest what we have seen is the economy has started, if I looking up, at least it's looking towards a stable kind of a situation. Mm-hmm. And the GDP growth has been in the range of 2 to 3% only, mm-hmm. which is not great. But in the given circumstances, that's something considered to be satisfactory for the time being. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Having said that, the only worry in the economy is based on the unemployment levels. Mm-hmm. Unemployment level is very crucial in very consumer-oriented society like US, mm-hmm. and the November figures for unemployment is 9.8%. Mm-hmm. So that's the only worry, and the Fed chairman has recently stated that if he can contain the unemployment, he is not at all worried about the economy.
Very good. Here is Mr. Krishnan, Chief Manager for the New York operation. Let me move on to Turkey. Here is Nazi. Turkey relationship is very strong for Doha Bank and Qatar and Turkey and GCC in Turkey. How is the Turkish economy doing, Nazi?
Yes, Turkish economy is performing very well actually. Mm-hmm. So we expect around 8% GDP growth this year.
8%?
Yes, and
very good.
This will be around $1 trillion GDP this year. Mm-hmm. And the Turkish economy has been upgraded very recently. Mm-hmm. BB plus,
double B plus.
Double B plus.
Okay.
And the positive is the outlook is turned to positive.
Okay.
And also Turkish economy became 16th largest economy.
16th largest economy in the world.
In the world.
Okay.
Due to its performance, and the domestic demand increased drastically, which is the main motor of the economic growth.
Okay.
In Turkey. So, and we have a very good relation with Gulf countries actually, and all construction companies, major construction companies are present in Gulf countries, particularly in Qatar.
Qatar, you have done the museum,
exactly.
Baitur. Now you're doing the coronation.
And yes, the Islamic Museum has been done by a Turkish company called Baitur, mm-hmm. and also Convention Center will be done again from the same company. Mm-hmm. And the new Doha airport will be building by TAV and Taisei.
In Oman also, I was told.
Yes.
Very good.
And
good. It's a growing relationship with Turkey and Gulf states. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Nazi Azalan from Turkey, Istanbul. Richard, just one question. How do you feel the Gulf? It's the first visit. You have just spent a month with Doha Bank in London. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Mr. Richard, who is the chief rep from London. How do you feel the Gulf economies?
Very positive. There's a lot of very good messages here.
Okay.
Things that I can take home. We need some good news in Great Britain.
Okay.
Things are a little stagnant. The financial crisis has not helped. The stability here, the leadership we have around in the GCC helps. Historically, Great Britain has had a very good relationship with the GCC, whether it's defence or domestic, and with the developments for us, there's a lot of hope.
Okay.
We need hope.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Richard from London. There's a lady there, Romania, Eastern Europe. How is Romania doing? Introduce yourself.
Very well, thank you, sir. Good evening, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Romania is still facing recession. We are waiting for a little growth of GDP, let's say almost 1%. But instead, we are waiting for a better trade between Romania and the GCC,
Gulf states.
the Gulf states.
Very good, very good. We look forward to see
Same in
multiple
our part.
collaboration.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to conclude. Right, that forms a part of the global representation of Doha Bank. Just to conclude, a couple of weeks before on Thursday, we had a very exciting news. Qatar achieved the right to host the 2022. That's an extraordinary success for the Arab world, first of its kind for the entire. Those who have seen Qatar, those who have seen the governance of Qatar knows when Qatar achieved Security Council presidency, a small nation, driving the Security Council presidency between 2006 to 9, and when they were mediating peace process in Lebanon and Darfur, it is politically progressing. In terms of economic progression, last 10 years consecutive surplus budget, investable surplus. Social progression, healthcare, education, world-class institutions like Cornell, Texas A&M, Virginia Common, Georgetown. We all know Qatar is a telling story. What has happened on December 2nd is an extraordinary feat for the entire Arab world. What does it mean in terms of real business for the Kuwaiti companies? It's an opportunity. I have my chief country manager, Mr. Ahmed Meza. He has been a wonderful executive here. I want you to come to Qatar, bring your business to Qatar, participate in the major projects. Billions of dollars have been committed, otherwise as well, over $130 billion by Qatar government in the listed projects. Now, additionally, every year the fiscal policy has been inclusive of $15 billion for construction. So I call the contracting companies, electromechanical companies, design engineering companies to come and participate. And Doha Bank is there. Doha Bank is there in Kuwait, and essentially he is the driver of the engine here. We are here to support you. I'll request Mr. Ahmed Meza to stand up and get himself acquainted, and essentially funded or non-funded requirements, we are here. This is going to be a major opportunity for every single Arab world. That is how we look at this opportunity, and come and join us in the overall success of the execution. Just to conclude, the final few words. Essentially what I was trying to articulate was the change in terms of overall economics and the change in terms of overall global trade. We also have to necessarily realize you as executives of the various corporates or a businessman have to redefine your business model as global model. In terms of business process, it's all integrated as backend globally. You don't need divergence, you don't need verticals in respective domains. The world today, as I said, is contracting in smaller and with the telecommunications and the access devices. What we need to articulate is, with the changing face of the world, how you and your business can redefine yourself. With the change in the world, how you can change your business model to have gross welfare to all your stockholders. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for Bank Doha. Since 2008, we lawyers thank bankers for giving us, keeping us busy. You mentioned about Basel 2 and 3. We see that, for example, there's Australia never follows Basel compliance regulations. And they were ranked as one of the safest bank system. To some extent, I think Canada. So is there a problem with the regulations, or do you think bankers were the main probably problem behind the crisis? Thank you.
It's a very good question. See, he asked a question. He talked about Basel II. Australia or Canada is not following. I'm not sure about Canada. Canada is also not following. See, Canada is, if you look at the Canadian financial system, there are only 5 major banks. It's not, you look at Qatar today, we had 17 banks under central bank, plus under Qatar Financial Center, you have over 50 banks. So the dynamics are different. If you have a protected market, your capital rules are different. See, the challenge comes in only when you open up the market, deregulate the market. That's why I said from deregulation to re-regulation. It's not over-regulation, but perhaps I fear if things are not fixed, even in trade, there will be protectionism. Unemployment is what? Business process outsourcing. There are multiple reasons why unemployment is happening. So in terms of the financial services, it depends on the overall order. The opening up is restricted, then you have a control. And again, when it comes to repatriation, it's not an open market in multiple points. So, of course, these two economies have responded very well. Especially Canada has done well. Australia has also has proven its financial stability. Even though they have not following Basel III, I think the capital rules are well defined. If you look at I have looked at some of the major banks in Australia and Canada. Their capital adequacy is way above 10 or 12%. That shows clear character and stability in their institution as well. They are not excess leverage. So the regulators are solid in their control and supervision. That's the impression I get. One more question. Sorry, yes, please.
Yeah. I mean, my name is Labid Abdal. I'm a lawyer. I'm very much glad about the map here because you look like providing clients with stations, because I met even the chief of Japan and the chief of New York, and I've seen that you are doing some kind of very special service where I don't think you are looking for more clients in those different continents, but more into providing your customers and accounts holders to have stations.
Yes.
And then I'm very much glad that you are choosing even going to China and then Istanbul and even Singapore.
Yes.
And then even although in the other countries there would be some effects of the financial crisis, but again, you are looking for clients to come from New York to come to Doha and Kuwait and
that's right.
and Dubai, because there are real good stable markets.
Correct. It's a very carefully crafted strategy in the sense, way back in 2002, we said when the local market has become global, we have to go global. So we looked at the bilateral trade. The single largest relationship for the Gulf is Japan. We are there. Second largest is Seoul. We are there. Third largest is Singapore. We are there, especially for Qatar. Then we looked at the global power like US and the UK. So we know the financial capital. We also know the trading partners. We took a calculated step which is proven to be right. And we don't operate just a rep office. We operate as a commercial gateways. Now, for example, we want to make sure we build a relationship in terms of trade, investment, banking, and finance. So our intention is to bring the bilateral block in form and substance, not to have a conventional banking. So that is why we have been fairly successful. We do the branding time and again like what we have done today. So it's adding value. Thank you for recognition as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think that marks the end of the... Can I request you to say a word of thanks?
Thank you all for coming and participating in this event. Enjoy the rest of the evening and have a great dinner. وفي الختام نود أن نشكركم على حضوركم ومشاركتكم في هذه الندوة، وأرجو أن تستمتعوا بما تبقى من هذه السهرة، وتفضلوا جميعا للعشاء. Sorry, Dan.
الحقيقة أشكركم بالشكر الجزيل على هذا الحضور والمشاركة. دوحة بنك الدوحة سوف يكون دائما على اتصال في هذه الفعاليات. إن شاء الله على السنة الجديدة راح نشوف فعاليات أخرى إن شاء الله نساهم فيها معكم. وبمناسبة هذه الندوة الحقيقة أو المؤتمر نطلب من سعادة الأستاذ رشيد الطبطبائي للتفضل باستلام تذكار بسيط من بنك الدوحة بهذه المناسبة.